Hi everyone, I'm Mike from Zola Blitz.
And I'm Kevin from Fort Circle Games.
And welcome to the Week 2 wrap-up of the Shores of Tripoli online Tournament of Champions. Had an amazing week, lots of action, teams moving up and down the standings. Shall we jump right in and take a look at the standings?
Absolutely.
All right, so here we're looking now at the top third of the standings, teams 1 to 14. And we're looking now at the end of the second week, but there's some teams, a lot of these teams, they just jump right into it. So we're seeing some results from week 3 that are in here. Anything that jumps out at you that we want to talk about right away?
Well, I think we probably need to talk about the top matchup this week, which is Rocks of Gibraltar and Team Sunflower. They've already finished 4 of their games. We're filming on Monday, so we're getting a little sneak preview into what's going to happen in the third round. And I know the Rocks of Gibraltar have won 3 out of 4 already, and I got to be honest, Rocks of Gibraltar are looking pretty solid. And
no pun intended.
A lot of ships are breaking up on those rocks. So.
Right.
And
I've noticed too, I'm looking at Shadow Dawn. Shadow Dawn's been very sneaky. They're playing their games later in the week, so they rack up their points and they shift. They're up to 6th place right now. 12-4-1 here, so moving up. Otto von Bismarck has impressed too. 11-7, looking really strong.
Well, I know you're a fan of those high school teams, so
yes, for sure. Yeah.
The matchup I'm actually pretty excited about is the teams in 9th and 14th place, the Littoral Commanders and the Georgetown Board Gamers. The Georgetown Board Gamers, the undergraduate team, but the Littoral Commanders is the graduate program team. So that's a grudge match, bragging rights for Georgetown. And I know right now each has a win and a loss in this round, so I know a lot of people are watching that. There's been quite a bit of trash talk going on Discord server, so we'll see how that one goes.
So there's going to be a lot of back and forth about that one. Now, VMI, the Virginia Military Institute's made a big jump up as well, too. They were at 3-4-1 at the end of the first week and have had a strong second week, jumping up into the top 10.
Yeah, I think only one of their players had played before, and so the other 3 were new, and they're getting their feet wet that first week. And, the great thing about this is that any team, you have 2 good weeks and you're in that top 2 in the final round. So all of these teams are competitive. And I think we'll see this when we move to the second match, which should we do that now?
Yes. The only question I did have for you is, do we want to talk a little bit about the 3rd and 4th place matchup before we go down? Because you have some stakes in this one too, right? With 2 can play that game.
So my wife is mad that I outed her that she's on this team. She was trying to, her username was the name of our 2 cats. And she's like, no, it's me. And then I, of course, tell everybody it's her. So now there's pressure on her because she wanted to be on a team that she's like, just put me on a team that there won't be any pressure. And I'm like, I'll put you on this team. And now they're doing great. So now there's some pressure. So we'll see how that goes. See if I get in too much trouble for that.
Yeah. All right. So we jump to the middle third of the standings here.
Yes.
So we're looking now at teams 15 through 30. And again, with some of the results from week 3 still kind of mixed in here, but mostly kind of at the end of week 2. Anything in here that jumps out at you?
Well, I think we should talk about the team in 25th place first.
Yes, the team that shall not be named?
The team that shall not be named, because we don't want to jinx them.
Right, right. We do not want to jinx. They're making a strong comeback.
But that's good to see where they're at in the standings. Also, I'm glad to see a CSI's team. They're up in the middle, the 18th place. They had, I don't think any of their players had played before the tournament started, so they're definitely getting baptism by fire and really picking it up. So, any teams you want to point out?
House Cedarsturm, which I remember you mentioned as one of your top picks early on in the tournament, had a rough first week as they ran into the
worst.
The buzzsaw that is the Rocks of Gibraltar, I think it was, right? But a strong comeback in week 2 has them almost into the top third. And another couple good weeks, you can imagine them actually competing for the finals as well.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I'm also happy to see Naval Academy team at 9-6. They had been slow playing their matches a little bit too. I think some of that was their opponents. But 9-6, they're still missing a game from last round, and that's a team I think that we should be worried. I mean, if I was playing, I would be worried about that team. So, because
and an interesting side story that you want to talk about Legendary Tactics too.
Oh yes, so Legendary Tactics had a great first week. They fell off a little bit in the second week. I think they had a strong matchup, but they are 2 of the players who run Legendary Tactics are walking through all of their games. They're playing them on replay and talking through them. So definitely encourage anyone who wants to get a good feel about how to play to go watch their videos. I can't say that I agree with every one of their strategic decisions, but I think in general, they definitely know what they're doing. So,
Well, that's always a sign of a good game, too, though, when there's some controversy around what's the best way to go to. And it's certainly helpful for learning, as you can always think, would I do that there, or do I agree with that position? So a lot to be gained, I think, from watching those videos, for sure.
absolutely.
Poutine Triumphant? Do we want to mention?
Yeah.
Their logo is very impressive, too.
And they're Canadian, and who doesn't like Canadians?
There you go. Right. A lot to
Yes.
like here. Yeah. And sitting nicely positioned to move up the table. Shall we slide down to talk about our teams in the bottom tier right now?
Let's do that.
All right. Anything in here that catches your mind? We're looking at teams 31 through 44.
I think the Graybeards, that's a team of 3 designers and then a sports reporter. I think that, they were kind of getting their feet wet, and they look really good in their second round. I like to see Grove City College participating, so they were an out of the blue participant, and really happy to see them doing well. I really like Masterminds. They're not having a particularly successful tournament, but they're a group of educators who are really focused on gaming and finding innovative ways to improve the classroom experience. So we love them, even if they don't win another round. They're fantastic for participating. So.
I think the thing that caught my eye too is that, so we have Purple People Eaters. That's another one of our high school teams, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
Even they're down to 30, but they're 6 and 7, right? So they're very close to 500, and they still have a couple games to play. So even these teams that are down here, the balance of play in the tournament has been, I think, striking and encouraging. And I think you also mentioned too that there's been no team that hasn't won a game. Every team's won a game each week. That's
correct. And I think what would be, if one of these teams really wants to move up, is if they can get their wins as the Americans as well as winning as Tripoli, that's like having a great road record in sports. If you can win at home, yes, but if you can win some on the road too, I feel like that's what's happening in this American Tripoli split of results. So
right. Shall we? Unless there's anything else, we want to shift to talking a little bit about some of our players' results.
Yes. So I think we should note that there's 7 players who have won all of their matches, and another 5 are undefeated, but with a draw. And we don't know how it's going to work out. What we've committed to is that all of the players with whatever the top record is will advance to a playoff. That might only be 2, or it might be 10. We'll see what it is. So I think even it could be very possible that teams with players with 1 loss or a loss and a tie might all be competing. So especially because as top teams are playing top teams, top players are playing top players, and they're all picking up losses. I noticed one of the Rocks of Gibraltar players who has been one of the top players of the tournament picked up a loss here this round. So we'll see what happens.
Yep. And we have a Player of the Week award as well.
Yes. So actually, I want to talk about the Player of the Week last week. So Lauren from Rocks of Gibraltar won, but I didn't show her prize, and it was this cloth map of the shores of Tripoli. Hope that looked good there. And I hadn't mailed it to her yet because I wanted to show it this week. And then this week, the winner chose Shores of Tripoli home game, and so I mailed that to him. And that winner was Shan Sheik of Team CSIS. He had never played before and went 1-1 last week, and then he went 2-0 this week. And he's, leading a team that's making a charge, and so we thought he might be the right Player of the Week this week.
And we have a video statement from him too, right?
Let's hear what he has to say.
Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Sean Sheikh. I'm a research associate at the CSIS Missile Defense Project, where I conduct research on missile proliferation, air defense, and non-state actors. I joined this tournament as a member of CSIS Sheikh. This week we faced off against the Georgetown Board Gamers, who had some really solid players, but I managed to win both of my matches. My first match as Tripoli was very, very lucky. I stole 8 coins in just 2 pirate raids, and that was pretty early on, so then the rest of the match was just me slowly trying to take in the remaining coins. My match as the US was definitely harder fought. That one went up until the end, where I used Assault on Tripoli, but I had 3 of the Army attack cards, send in the Marines, Lieutenant O'Bannon leads the charge, and Marine sharpshooters. So those 3 combined made my army ridiculously strong. Looking forward to next week and the rest of the tournament.
Congratulations, Jan, on your award. And we have a couple of other awards to give out this week, too.
Yes. So the thing about the Shores of Tripoli is that we recognize that the more skillful players should win, but occasionally, just a run of bad luck can really even derail the best of players, kind of like in backgammon. And so we've been watching the different games, and Mike, I think we found the luckiest roll of the week.
Yes. Do we want to take a look at that?
Let's do.
Okay. So do you want to talk about who's playing in this one first and who had?
Yes, so it's Midnight Gaming, board gaming from Jurisprudence, and they were playing the Snafu Store, and Oscar Oliver, who's the owner, they're in Barcelona, they're playing in this match, and Oscar was Tripoli, and Midnight Board Gaming was the Americans, and I'll let you describe what happened.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at this now. We can see here that we're looking in the summer of 1802. Tripoli has 9 Corsairs, and they've just sent them out to raid in the naval zone with Tripoli attacks. They take this out. They get 6 sixes on 9 dice rolls using that card, which I did the math on it. It's a 1 in 880 chance. And we can see them just losing those 3 U.S. frigates, which completely wiped out that force that was guarding Tripoli there. Oscar went on to win the match 2 years later. I mean, it was just too hard for the U.S. to overcome that type of a loss. And so with that, he gets the lucky roll of the week. And we also have an unlucky player of the week. Do you want to talk about those?
Well, that was our unlucky player because
right.
Not only did she lose 3 frigates, but when they fired back, not a single one got a hit.
That's
so
right.
that's just insult to injury. So
right.
We wanted to have some prizes. So we will be sending to Barcelona these lucky dice, pink fuzzy dice. I'm keeping that pair for myself. A fresh pair will be sent.
I imagine you bought 2. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And then we'll be sending to the unlucky person this little black cat who appears unlucky, but is actually going to bring great luck for the rest of the tournament. So it's always good to be sending prizes to people.
And it is built into the coding for the game, right? That if you have some bad dice rolls, you're going to have good dice rolls later, right?
No, it doesn't work like that.
And we have a video from Oscar about his acceptance of this award now, too, don't we?
Let's hear what he has to say.
All right.
Hi, I'm Oscar from Snafu. I must say that being a skilled player is something that helps in a tournament, for example. But sometimes, even if you are the most skilled player, the best player of Shores of Tripoli in the world, you have to be a little bit lucky to win the prize. So maybe I don't win the tournament, but I surely had the luckiest roll of all the tournament. So thanks for at least the prize of the luckiest player. Thank you.
Congratulations to all our award winners. And now we have our history piece, our weekly history piece. So let's go to Abby Mullen, and then we'll follow that up with some card tactics advice.
On October 31st, 1803, the entire character of the First Barbary War changed. Up to this point, the U.S. Navy had been running a mostly ineffective blockade of Tripoli. Many of the vessels in the area were drawn away by conflicts with the other Barbary states. But on October 31st, the USS Philadelphia pursued a blockade runner heading into Tripoli harbor. Suddenly, the frigate hit a sandbar and ran completely aground. After a brief battle and an attempt to get the ship off the bar, the captain, William Bainbridge, surrendered the ship to the Tripolitans. He and more than 300 crew were taken into captivity. Adding insult to injury, the Tripolitans were able to refloat the Philadelphia a few days later. There was little the Americans could do about the captives, aside from ending the war. But they could do something about the ship. Retaking it was impossible, but on February 16, 1804, a small band of men, led by Lieutenant Stephen Decatur, boarded the ship in the middle of the night, set explosives, and then set the ship ablaze. If the Americans couldn't have the Philadelphia, then the Tripolitans couldn't either.
The capture and subsequent burning of the USS Philadelphia was certainly one of the most exciting episodes of the war. It inspired 6 cards for the Shores of Tripoli. First, of course, is the Philadelphia runs aground, a chance for the Tripolitan player to either sink or, even better, capture an American frigate. The battle card Uncharted Waters pairs nicely, allowing the Tripolitan player to roll 2 dice instead of 1 and selecting the preferred result. The captain of the USS Philadelphia was William Bainbridge. He and his crew were taken captive and held in Tripoli. However, while imprisoned, Captain Bainbridge would sneak intel about Tripoli out through diplomatic channels. Hence, the Bainbridge Supplies Intel card. Bainbridge would later captain the USS Constitution during the War of 1812. Of course, Burn the Philadelphia was a must-have card, as Great Britain's Admiral Nelson was said to have called the feat the most bold and daring act of the age. The Americans, led by the daring Stephen Decatur, snuck into the harbor of Tripoli on the USS Intrepid, the previously captured Tripolitan ketch Mastico, and set the Philadelphia afire. Later that year, the Americans attempted to use the USS Intrepid as a floating volcano to be launched into the enemy fleet in the harbor of Tripoli. Commanded by Lieutenant Richard Somers, the Intrepid unfortunately exploded prematurely with a loss of Somers and all 12 of his men. Join us next week as we'll continue with more tips from the shores of Tripoli. Week 2 in the bank. We're heading into week 3 with some exciting matches. The top of the table, bottom of the table, middle of the table, all the way through. Good luck to all our participants, and we'll see you again in a week for our weekly wrap-up after week 3.